You got questions, I got answers. I'm Erol Bal, sitting on the hot seat for the checkinline.com. Let's talk Islanders hockey. Hey fans, thanks for tuning in on this edition of the hot seat. I'm your host, Erol Bal, courtesy of the checkinline.com. We have a lot to discuss. A lot of things have happened here in Islander country. Last time we broadcast on our site, we went from first place to last place. Somehow they got Tim Thomas along the way. Though there is a silver lining to this all, yesterday the New York Islanders have sent Rick Dipietro down to the minors. They placed him on waivers. As of this very moment today, he has cleared waivers. Kevin Poulin will be brought up to play backup for Nabokov. So we have much to discuss. Let's get on now to our first questions. Of course, comes from my good friend Kevin, who's a Ranger fan. Love the photo. He asks, what are your thoughts on Rick Dipietro being sent to the minors? Well, Kevin, how do I feel? I think it's about time that Rick Dipietro got sent down. Now, before we pop out the champagne and put the Rick Dipietro saga to rest, let's just say one thing. He has not been bought out yet. We don't know what's happening in that regard. But all he's been right now is sent down to the minors, and in essence, he's been given the Wade Redding treatment, where if needed, he'll be called up. So if Nabokov gets injured or Kevin Poulin gets hurt, at any given moment, Rick Dipietro could come back up again and play for the New York Islanders. So I wouldn't necessarily say that our saga with him has officially come to an end, but it's certainly looking that way, and I'm all for it. All due respect, I was never a Rick Dipietro fan. I understood he bled orange and blue. He was an Islander, and so for that, I always rooted for him, and I still will root for him. Listen, if he goes out to the AHL, comes back to a solid all-star form, and carries us to the Stanley Cup, I will never say a single bad thing about Rick Dipietro again. But guess what, fans? It's not going to happen, okay? That's a fact. Rick Dipietro has been the cause of all of his problems. His injuries from 2007 on have been caused by his play. He refuses to stay in net. At the same time, he consistently rushed his recovery. How many goalie coaches did he have? How many times did he even said that, yeah, I rushed myself a few times. Going against doctors, going against his better judgment, he threw himself out there and continued to get himself hurt, and at that point made us a laughingstock with that contract that we gave him. The scary thing is, with this Mickey Mouse franchise of ours, I truly believe he actually will come back this season. I believe that they're probably going to give him 5 or 10 games, and he will be back, guaranteed. They'll send Poulin down, and Rick Dipietro will come up. What happens in the offseason will be a huge tell on what Wong will do with this team going forward. Do we buy out Rick Dipietro? That still remains to be seen. Now, there's two options here now. By all means, I'm not a union expert on this, but from what I've read, there's two types of buyouts. We could do the compliance buyout, the one that the new CBA has brought forward, where you can just pay out your player and it will not be affected the cap. Or you could go the traditional route by buying out Rick Dipietro, and then he'll still be on our books for the remaining 10 or 15 more years. So, of course, being in the Islanders, we do everything on the cheap here. It wouldn't shock me one bit if we did do the traditional buyout, just to keep keep a portion of his salary on the books, so we could reach the cap floor. Because unfortunately, that's just how this organization is run. Which is the same reason why we got Tim Thomas. To this day, I don't know why we got Tim Thomas. He's not playing for us at all. But like I said, that's sadly what the organization is all about. We are cheap. We do not have an effective team. We reach for the bottom floor. Now, back to Rick Dipietro. It all comes down, like I said, he could return. I hope he retires, or at least I hope we buy him out. The compliance buyout version. I wish him well. If he could become a free agent next year and go play someplace else, or maybe he could be a color commentary person with the Islanders along with Howie Rose. Though I kind of have Butch Goran has kind of grown on me. So with that being said, I am really happy that Dipietro is sent down to the minors. It's completely long overdue. I hope that he stays down there and we never see him up here again. Unfortunately, though, I truly believe we will see Rick Dipietro again this season or possibly next. I don't think this saga is officially over. I don't see the Islanders closing the books on him yet. I just think he's going to get some more games in, get a little warm-up, and then he'll be brought back and most likely get injured again. So it really depends what happens down there. If he gets injured, then who knows? We won't see him again for another year. But as of now, number 39 is still an Islander. He's still on the payroll. His salary of $4.5 million a year is on the books. And until I see dramatic change on that regard, I don't see the Islanders actually taking a step forward in that progress. So sending them down to the minors is a small step in the right direction. On and on and on, talking about Rick Dipietro and how I do not want him on this team. But we need to move forward. And our next question comes from Caroline on Twitter, who asks me, Errol, do you think what is up with the Islanders? Do you think they will make the playoffs this year? To quote our good friend Jim Moore from the Indianapolis Colts, playoffs? Oh, we're talking about playoffs? In all honesty, I really don't know if the Islanders will make the playoffs. Last time we did this blog, they were in first place in the division. Granted, we were 5 or 6 games into the season. The Islanders were looking hot, and then, of course, we fell into a slump. We slowly have gotten back to form. We won the last 2 games. We won last night by Nabokov got the shutout as we beat the Buffalo Sabres 4-0. Now, here comes the real test for this organization to see how good we truly are. The next 7 games we will be playing at home. This right here will be the test to see if whether we're a lottery team again or if we're going to be playoff bound. The next 7 games will make or break the season. It will be a defining factor of what goes on. At the same time, I want to see exactly how well this team performs, as well as the future of Jack Capuano, who I really believe should not be our coach. So I'm a little pessimistic. I really hope we make the playoffs. There's a lot of talent in this team, but there's something missing. I don't like how we fail to come out fast all the time. We always give up first period or early on goals. We're always playing catch up. There are times we do look dominant, and then there's times where we look like a bunch of amateurs. Case in point when we lost 7-0 against the Flyers. So a lot of it, I really believe, comes down to how this team prepares in the locker room and during practice. I mean, can someone tell me, did Kyle Okposo even train this offseason, or was he busy sitting in the movie theater watching the Lord of the Rings trilogy? Because he looks terrible out there. A lot of this comes down to the conditioning of the team. Now, with the exception of John Tavares, who's been our savior, this organization, this team just looks so... It looks weak sometimes. At times it looks great, and then there's times where it's just the inconsistency is there, and it kills me because I think this team has a lot of potential, but it's really missing a factor. I don't know whether a trade or whether we need a new coach. I personally believe we need a new coach. Just recently, the Buffalo Sabres fired Lindy Ruff, and so I really hope the Islanders would look that route come this offseason. I do not want to see Brett Thompson or Doug Weight behind the bench. We need a veteran leadership behind the bench to cause a spark plug and get this team going. And I unfortunately don't see Capuano doing that. Now, in regards to the playoffs, what happens these next 7 games will be the deciding factor, I truly believe. Whether we win or lose, if we falter the next 7 games, then by all means, the New York Islanders will get a lottery pick, and I hope we get Seth Jones from the Portland Winterhawks because that'll solidify our defense for the future. In the end, I don't think this team will make the playoffs. I don't want to be pessimistic. I want to be proven wrong. Listen, I'm not a hater. By all means, I'll go back to this thread and I'll apologize to all of you that are watching. So if you think I'm wrong, tell me your thoughts. Tell me why you think I'm wrong, and I'll definitely read your quotes on my next blog. I promise you that one. So that's my thoughts on this. I believe the Islanders will be short this year. I don't think we'll necessarily be a lottery pick team. We're not going to be a bottom 5 team. But I do think the Islanders will fall 3 or 4 points shy of the 8th seed, and that'll just give us enough fuel for next year. Then that's when the real damage will begin, and we begin to become a threat to the National Hockey League. Well, fans, that is all the time I have on this edition of the Hot Seat. To thank everyone for tuning in. Please keep submitting your questions, whether on Twitter, and follow us all on thecheckinline.com. We'd love to hear your thoughts. We love chatting with you on Twitter as well, especially during the games. So we like to live tweet with all of you. Please just chat with us along the way, and we will definitely see you here again next time. For thecheckinline.com, I'm Erol Bal. Let's go Islanders.